Welcome to another episode of Bourbon and Data Breaches, where we cover 5 of the most interesting data breaches from this last week and one of our favorite bourbons. I'm Steve.
Divya.
Paul.
Howdy, I'm Shu.
Great. Well, Divya, what do we have this week?
Okay, guys, so this week it's been pretty interesting. The first story is about this university. This is not in Austin, this is in Clarksville, Tennessee. Austin P State University becomes latest school hit with ransomware. But what's interesting about this story is that the school sent out 3 tweets about the attack, and the university, of course, put a banner on their website urging everyone on campus to shut down their computer as soon as possible. This is one of the tweets, and it says APSU alert, ransomware attack. This is not a test. Shut down all computers now. So what do you guys have to say about this story?
I mean, the tweet is great. I love that tweet. If Twitter's your way of distributing security events, that's not gonna work well. But also, like, okay, let's play this out. Let's say that I believe the tweet and I shut down all computers. Then what? Like, how do I know to turn them back on? Is it safe to turn them back on? Like, so many questions left unanswered.
So, I mean, like, we all laughed at the tweet, everyone laughed at the tweet, but still, you know what? It was very serious, and I applaud them for that because it got people's attention, and good on you. Yes, there are better ways to do it, but if that's your only way, good on you.
How's that the only way? I feel like hacking a Twitter account happens every day. So like, there's got to be like 5 other alternatives that are way more secure. Like, one, an email that's got like a nice little lock symbol on it. It's actually verified email, right? 2, like, I don't know, update the website. 3, like, what computers are these? Like, couldn't they just open up a bullhorn and be like, attention everyone, turn off your computers, this is not a drill?
I would think turning off the computers just adds to the paralysis, right? It just puts everyone in the dark.
What do you do then?
Yeah.
Well, you get back on the bullhorn and say, turn on your computers, it's okay.
No,
Why?
or you go door.
Why is it okay?
No, you walk around campus. You go door to door.
Did the ransomware stop existing? Right? Like, what if you're infected with ransomware and you turn off your computer and then you turn it back on? Isn't it just going to like restart up and reinfect the computer?
Okay, so one advancement, I think I saw this tweet. This is a shit show because somebody is like, who opened the link from the email titled "Hot Girls from Your Area Wants to Meet You"?
That's a very good question.
Hot girls. Oh no. Oh dear. They just want to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like, there's got to be a much better way of distributing security events, right?
Yeah.
And like, this has got to be pretty basic, right? Like, hey, if anything related to security happens, what's our plan? And the plan can't be, I will send a tweet in all caps.
Of course, you're 100% right. And also, I like to point out that tweet by Chad. Chad, you're not helpful, you're a dick, okay?
I mean, like, it was great. Like, you know, look, let's say that there's like one IT dude and he's in charge and he has like nothing, he has no resources, fine. Like, I will give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's freaking out and he gets on Twitter and he's like, this is not a drill, turn off all computers. But like, I love the turn off all computers. Like,
Well, especially in the context of ransomware when they've already been jammed up anyway.
yeah, like, which computers? Like, are you talking about like computers in a lab? Are you talking about all personal computers? Are you including phones? as computers. Like, because you realize once all computers are turned off, you can't tell them to turn them back on, right? Twitter no longer works if all the computers are off. And if he wanted all the computers off, why didn't he just cut the power, right? Like hardcore. If I needed to turn off all computers on a college campus, I'd be like, cool, we're gonna cut the power, right? And then we'll turn the power back on in 5 minutes, and the computers are gonna be down.
You know, I want to bring up that like the person who was also tweeting it was probably tweeting it from the computer that was
Exactly. No, it adds to the absurdity. It adds the absurd factor.
He's like,
Okay.
okay, I love this tweet real quick. Let me turn this shit off.
Maybe he sent out the tweet and then immediately powered down all computers, and then he sat down, he's like, all right, good, we're done. All right.
I'm taking off. I'll see you guys on Monday.
Was that a Friday? That had Friday. That had Friday energy. Like, I'm not gonna deal with this shit. Everyone turn off your computers.
Bye.
I'll see you on Monday. Bye. Like, I'm gonna go to a concert.
Yeah.
You go to a
Oh, wow.
fucking EDM concert.
That's right. Really loud.
Wow. That was a good story.
Yeah. I'm gonna move on to story number 2. So this one kind of, I felt a little sad for it, but I understand. But a health startup called myNurse to shut down after a data breach exposed health records.
Yeah.
And it was like, it provided chronic care management and remote patient monitoring services, but they got breached and now they're shut down, I think at the end of May. So what do you guys have to say about this story?
So I'm not surprised. A lot of small businesses go out of business after a breach, but the real reason for this is HIPAA. Every record they leaked, they have a fine, and they just leaked so many records that the fine was too much. They'd never be able to pay it, and it was better to just shut down the business, declare bankruptcy, and just fold the business up. So it's super sad, but I think that we're going to see this more and more commonly, especially right now. HIPAA is the most common one that has a direct impact on breaches, but there's potentially others, right? There's a lot of laws out there about like minimum fines for data breaches, and the small businesses get hit the worst. Unfortunately, a lot of small businesses do go out of business after a breach, whereas a lot of large businesses end up bouncing back or even profiting from a breach. So it's really it's a hard thing for small businesses.
Hey, Steve, do you know if a business like that pays the ransom and gets their information back, do they still get hit with the HIPAA fines?
I mean, I think it depends, because if it's just ransomware that encrypts and does not steal,
Right.
then you can make the argument that the data was never exposed. But if it's ransomware that encrypts and steals, then
they're out there.
Then you're out. And most ransomware gangs in the last 12 months, and people don't realize how fast ransomware is evolving. Most ransomware gangs in the last 12 months have started encrypting and stealing, and they'll steal because they will want to release or threaten to release the data if they don't pay, right? And so, you know, this business, who knows if they could have paid, and then if they don't pay, the data gets released, and then they can't afford the fine. So it's really dicey if you're in any HIPAA related small business. That's really dangerous because of the risk of security.
Yep.
This wasn't, nothing in this article said it was ransomware. It was a data breach, and I hate to say just data breach, because apparently it was everything about the patient. It was financial and medical records and like everything. So it does note that there were probably some other issues going on financially with this company, and this might have been a straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
It is in California too. It's one of the more stringent states on compliance and data protection. So yeah, not good.
No.
And it's super dangerous. Like building a small business is hard. It's super risky. You end up, most small businesses fail. They end up losing money. And then there's the additional risk that a hacker from Russia can hack your business from across the world. You can't hack back. You can't do anything other than defensive. And if they are successful, you have to shut down. So
That's right.
Like where's the incentive there?
Well, and even for small businesses, even the stimulus stuff that was paid during COVID to pay employees, they tried all sorts of things to try to help smaller businesses stay in business. And even that's the aftermath of that has not been simple either. It has unintended consequences and it's very difficult. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some assistance during COVID, but our assistance was very minimal just based on the number of employees we had. And it seemed like it was geared much more for much larger companies.
Yeah.
And then, we got a very small loan, but of course the loan has to be paid back and there's all these like rules around that. So yeah, I think that the environment after COVID has been very dangerous for small businesses.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think it's time for a bourbon break. So today we have a really fun bourbon. We have George Dickel bourbon. It is a aged 8 years. So this is, I believe it's a Kentucky bourbon. Let me check. No, it's not.
Tennessee.
Tennessee. No, you're absolutely right. It's Tullahoma, Tennessee. Did I say that right, Paul? Tullahoma?
Tullahoma.
Okay. Tullahoma. So this is a Tennessee bourbon, pretty well-known name, Dickel. And I saw this. What really drew my attention to it is it's an 8-year bourbon. And I got it for about $25. And that's pretty rare, right? Like you think of the bourbons you can get that are aged 8 years. You think of like Evan Williams single barrel, that's like an 8-year bourbon. That's about $25, $30. So this looked pretty interesting. Divya, what do you know about this bourbon?
Okay, so for this bourbon, it is from Tennessee, and let's go to the website over here real quick. Overview says it's a handcrafted small batch bourbon that's been aged 8 years and blended to perfection. The liquid boasts sweet initial notes of vanilla, leading into bright hints of cherry and orange before being balanced by almond toffee and oak. It's 90 proof, and they say that bourbon enthusiasts can best enjoy Dickel bourbon neat or on the rocks. When you go to Total Wine, it says that the Tennessee Chill Charcoal filtered bourbon from the Cascade Hollow Distillery, handcrafted small batch bourbon that's been aged gracefully in charred oak barrels, saying 8 years blended to perfection. It's going for $30 right now. So Shu, I don't know what that equals to your Total Wine area, but yeah, those are the notes.
So I got it for 25. I don't know if it was on sale or something, but it was maybe in the Texas area, it was 25. Yeah, I think on the nose, you get a little vanilla. What I really like about this bourbon is I got this bourbon along with another. The other was more expensive. This bourbon has a complexity that is really interesting. Like, you're drinking something that's that has a flavor to it. It's distinct. It's not generic. And so, you get a little vanilla on the nose, but you get all these other like smells as well. All these other notes like nut. There's this sweetness to it. There's maybe a little bit of oakiness to it. It's not the smoothest. It's smooth enough, but it's rough enough that you still know you're drinking a bourbon straight. And there's just a number of flavors that come out. So like, you know, it's complex. It's got oakiness to it. It's got like honey sweetness, vanilla, like nutty, almost like a pecan to it. There's just a lot going on. And for $25, that's really hard to get, right? Like for $25, you could very easily like use this in like a highball or in a cocktail. You could drink it straight. You know, it's not the smoothest like sipping bourbon, but I think that this has a lot of versatility that I'm definitely going to buy it again, especially if I can find it at that $25 price. And I think this would be a pretty good mainstay. Like if you wanted something to add to your liquor cabinet, especially if you're making cocktails. I think any cocktail where you can put like an 8-year-old liquor in it, it's just going to make it better. And so I really recommend this one. This was a new one for me. I knew the brand, but I had never experienced it. I think the 8-year is a great entry point for Dickel.
It kind of smells like a cider too. I don't know if you smell that, but like that cider that we had in the fridge.
It's got a little.
Yeah, it does. It totally does.
It's got, I don't know what that note is. It's like there's a little bit of vanilla, and then there's a little bit of like
orange, right?
Yeah, maybe like a peel to it, like a fruit peel to it. No, it's definitely complex. Like
Yeah.
it's not just straight uniflavor. There's a lot going on in it, so I recommend it.
Yeah, any 8-year-old bourbon under $30, you've got my attention.
Yeah.
I've not tried that one, but I'm not.
And it's like it started in 1870, and I don't know how much of that is marketing, but like it doesn't look like there's these new bourbons that just look pretty, but they don't deliver.
Right.
And this one is just like, hey, we've got a gold label because gold's nice, and we're gonna let you know like that it's our finest quality bourbon in like old English font. It's like it's not trying to be trendy. Like I'm sure this has been their advertisement since the 1870s.
Yeah.
So
Look, if you want a better label on the paper, it would have cost like $28.50, and
yeah, it's also, I mean, it is bottled in bond.
bottle and bond. Not all
Wait,
bottle
don't-
bond, great, but it's a good
Is
starting.
it not?
I don't think it is. It didn't say it on the.
Is it not bottled in bond?
All right.
I have a hard time believing that they don't source their own product.
Even if it's sourced, 8 years is a long time. I'm impressed by the 8 years.
Yeah, it says.
Yeah. 8 years.
It says it's 8 years and blended to perfection. Guys, so story number 3. I'm very excited about this one. You'll see why in a second, but IKEA Canada got breached.
Man.
Ultra recent. And the internal data breach discovered that IKEA Canada impacts 95,000 units.
Too tight, Paul.
Sorry, guys. But this guy, Arthur Gallant. Oh, man.
Yes. So Calgary Arthur Gallant said he received an email from the retailer last week advising him his privacy had been breached and he had to assemble the ransomware. Otherwise it would not take off. So what are your thoughts about this story on IKEA?
I'm just surprised that anyone can be stunned, shocked, or speechless if their data got leaked.
I mean, they're
these
Canadian
days.
though, so I kind of see it.
Wait, Divya, what? Am I incorrect? Did I hear you say they had to assemble the ransomware?
Yeah, that was an IKEA joke. That's just in there.
You had to eat some meatballs first.
There's ransomware and the meatballs too. This
That's right.
Meatball ransomware. How bad can it be?
Meatball.
Oh, Arthur.
Arthur, poor Arthur.
I'm really sad to tell you about the facts and misery of life.
95,000
yeah, in a 3-day period.
doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, I guess it could be. That's what, like, that's maybe a region of Canada.
Yeah, because
I mean, it's Calgary. It's like half of Canada right there.
It's the oil patch, baby.
Yeah.
So that's like 95,000 people that all shopped at that like one IKEA, right? So okay, so this is like one store. It's not like nationwide. I mean, it's still annoying, but you know, at least it's limited to one store, right? Like the Target breach. Imagine if it was limited to only like one Target, like no one would care. But like it's sad for those people. What is Canada? What is Canada gonna do about it?
Yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it looks like it was kind of contained, but it was an exposure mistake somewhere along the line. So hopefully none of it got really far out, and the damage was a bit curtailed, but still good security practices from top down. That's the lesson here.
I guess also, like, if you're at an IKEA and you have the option to pay cash, maybe you pay cash, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you shop at IKEA, there's no reason for them to ever know your name, right? Or home address, any of that.
Yeah.
You could just be like, no, I'm gonna buy the Vlorn with extra schmuckle, and here's my Canadian cash.
Yeah.
Here's my rainbow colored money.
Oh my God. You should carry it in that blue bag like they have.
I'm gonna buy a blue bag to hold my cash in.
Buy a blue bag and pay with red money.
I'm gonna move on to story number 4. And story number
Let's go.
4 is Coca-Cola. But I think the best part about this story is this part about Stormus, which I'm gonna read in a second. But Coca-Cola investigates data breach claim, and then Stormus's statement said, "We hacked some of the company's server and passed a large amount of data inside them without their knowledge, and we want to sell it to someone else. You will win, and we will win. You will also contact us. We will explain more. Good deal. We'll give you the right to pay the amount you want, depending on the amount of data you want. Click on the picture to contact us or via our email." So they're investigating this breach. What do you guys have to say about this?
So that's very much Stormus's vibe. I'm in the Stormus Telegram channel, and like they post things like they'll post a photo of them breaching someone, and they'll be like, "Account holder does not know." So yeah, I fully believe that Stormus is run by like one dude, and he somehow got into like Coca-Cola, and he's like, "For very good time, you buy data, we both win."
Yeah, I'm wrong. Like Stormus is fairly recent, right? As far as ransomware getting.
Yeah, we've been tracking them for a few months.
Yeah, and this is like not the first big client or big target that they've had. Like I have no reason to believe this, but I'm wondering if like these ransomware gangs like come on, like Stormus and Lapis, if they're just like super groups of hackers that just like come together for a little bit and then just do a bunch of damage and like go away, and then some of them form another super group, sort of like Jack White and his group. that makes bad music.
What?
Yeah, Jack
Jack-
not really good.
Oh, Seven Nation Army, I mean.
Yeah, that's a terrible super group with terrible songs.
Wait, is that the song or is that the?
Oh no, that's the
it's
song. That's the song. Yeah.
White Elephant, I think.
Black Stripes
Black
or
Stripes?
White Stripes.
Oh, yeah.
Are you just saying colors and
I am.
objects now? too?
I am. Fuchsia Stripes. Oh, fucking Steve. So I'm like I'm in my car the other day and I hear this song and I'm like, God, this fucking 21 Pilots song. And it was not 21 Pilots. It was some other, we're in the stage now where like bands are ripping off 21 Pilots style.
We're on a stage like people are ripping off like Paramore and like fucking, yeah, the Machine Gun Kellys of the world.
Oh my
They need
God.
to stop.
Yeah. But anyways, back to this. I think yeah, there's like a bunch of star hackers and just like kind of dissolve for a while, take sabbatical, and then like come back and do a bunch of damage under a different name.
So we just saw that Franco just said that.
Was it Nameless Stalker?
No, hold on. Franco just said that it was one of the two we just added, Black Basta or what was the other one?
This something.
Blog UXX.
Yeah.
I think it was Blog UXX. Had all of the old re-evils.
Oh
in their
right,
site.
yes, yeah, that's true.
And so it's like, okay, so it's like, let me get this straight. There's a new ransomware gang that lists all of their old exploits as all the old re-evil exploits. It's like, oh, so it's re-evil. Like this is just re-evil, right?
Yeah.
And they also didn't name themselves. And in their description, it's all just pure Russian. It's just like.
No, that's a good point.
Oh,
Yeah, that's hot off the press. He just told us that this morning here.
yeah.
Re-evil.
So.
They're back, baby.
Yeah.
Well, like they never went away. Like ransomware gangs are just collections of sovereign citizens that like temporarily agree to work together. And then as soon as one of them gets popped, then they all just disappear and they reform like a new gang. So
Why are you describing Shu?
I'm sorry, Shu, are you personally attacked?
Ouch.
Oh, poor guy.
Shu, what do you call a collection of sovereign citizens?
What?
Say
We don't accept your right to label us.
it.
I agree.
X this label.
We reject you as an authority to label us. Anyway, what were we even talking about? Oh yeah, Stormus. Yeah, Stormus is arguably the new kid on the block who has probably been around for a very long time. And Stormus has broken into a lot of high-profile companies. They're like super low-key, like no one really knows they exist. Like Lapsus was all like, "Oh, hey, we're Lapsus. We broke into Okta." But Stormus was just like taking over companies left and right, and then just like very casually posting them in their Telegram channel. But we've been tracking them for a long time. Also, their disclosure site in the darknet is one of the worst sites I've ever seen.
Oh, yay, fun.
It is literally,
Worse
it's built by a psychopath.
than Muppet.
Yeah. This is definitely like that meme where like the guy's looking at the girl passing with his girlfriend there. Like Lapsus is like,
Yeah.
and like cybersec community is like watching, and then like Stormus is the other. Yeah.
Yeah, like Stormus broke into, I swear, like 20 or 40 different companies all throughout Southeast Asia, and like no one cared. And
Right.
then they're breaking into Coca-Cola, and everyone's like flipping their shit.
Yeah.
They probably stole the secret recipe for Coca-Cola.
The one with the cocaine.
which Elon Musk,
He wants to
Elon
make
Musk
that-
is gonna buy Coca-Cola next and put the cocaine back in Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
There you go.
Story of the evening, and this is very spicy. It's coming from Dubai, and it says Dubai uncovered data leak exposes how criminals, officials, and sanctioned politicians poured money into Dubai real estate. So I know that, you know, they have like some tax like breaks and whatever, but the glamorous emirate also has a darker reputation as a tax haven, a top destination for illicit cash, and a preferred hub for money laundering, often through real estate.
Mhm.
What do you guys have to say about this?
I loved everything about this article. It had all the great elements. It had Russian oligarchs, it had money laundering, it had fraud, it had people living in the Emirates and not being extradited to the US for some reason, even though they have an extradition treaty. Evidently, they have an extradition treaty up to like a certain dollar amount. And then above that dollar amount, it's like you're good. You're good. Like, so
Or they have
like
enough juice.
and it also had the whole element where this is reporters taking data leaks and investigating the data in the data leaks to uncover stuff. So this is like this is the Panama Papers all over again.
Right.
So like this was a 2020 data leak that reporters got their hands on, and they started combing through the data, and they're like, oh, like this criminal owns all this property, and this person who's like wanted by Interpol is like living down the street. So like this was a great article. I recommend everyone read it. Super interesting. And I think that one of the things we're seeing with data breaches and data leaks is if you think what you're doing is hidden, it's not hidden, right? Like the Panama Papers exposed everyone, and
That's
all the whole game was given up. Like
Yeah.
everything they're doing out in the public.
Even the Swiss bank stuff that happened recently, right?
Yes.
Yeah, UBS, I think it was UBS.
Was
They had, or maybe it was like
The other one.
the other
Deutsche
one.
Bank.
Well, there's Deutsche
Bank
Bank,
is another.
the Key Bank.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think the key bank's UBS.
I
Anyway,
think it was UBS, yeah.
I think it was UBS. But yeah, like Panama, nope. You've got I think something recently happened in the Caymans. So Caymans are out. Like UAE out, right? Russia's getting hacked, but guess what, Russia? When you invade Ukraine, all the hackers in Ukraine hack you.
Yeah.
Right, so like Russia's getting hacked now, so like all this data is coming out into the public. So that is one of the fascinating things about the time we live, is that reporters have never had more access to secret data to call out like all of these shady dealings.
Credit Suisse.
Credit Suisse.
Press week. I will say for Panama Papers, and I think this is going to happen with this Panama Papers, we saw some initial outrage, some small consequences, but it was data that people use to map out relationships down the road. So we did not see the most damage from Panama Papers initially in the first or second wave, but there are long-lasting consequences to that data, and I think this is sort of the same thing. Governments are building cases with this data, basically.
Yeah.
Government moves so slow though.
Yeah.
They do, but at least I can speak, knowing the US federal government, they want their cases rock solid before they bring down the ban hammer. And once they do, they will bring down the ban hammer.
Yeah. But what do you think, Paul? Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, I just think it's interesting at this moment when there's a lot of thinking and questioning about, well, does anyone in the world still give a shit about living what we used to call a country where they elected governments and things like that, kind of old-fashioned ideas. And, a big aspect of this is, like you were saying, in the Panama Papers or in this stuff, is if the economy and the government and pretty much everything that happens is controlled by a handful of people doing whatever they want. It's interesting that this too is coming out right now, right? Because
Yeah.
someone's got to grapple with it. I mean, otherwise, what are we going to be living in, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's interesting about Panama Papers and then this story is that if you were an oligarch, right? If you were in business and you did what you needed to do with the government to get the blessing, then you're generally safe, right? You figured out the rules, you figured out how to exploit the system, and you can set up your own little private kingdom. And what we're seeing is that a lot of that's coming to light, right? Like if you're just hiding out in UAE, you could think that you're untouchable, similar to a lot of the oligarchs in Russia who are now having yachts being seized. And so I think that, it's fair game on oligarchs now, which has not been the case in the past.
No, or it could even be just also on extremely wealthy people. It could wherever, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Because like you said, no information will remain secret.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
I mean, I think that if you have money and you're in UAE, you're not necessarily in this leak or being called out by reporters. But
Yeah.
I think what is interesting is if you have ill-gotten money or money through like exploitative practices, then that's what these reporters are able to call it out. And that's going to increase pressure on the government. I'm sure that UAE is not enjoying this story because it makes them look.
Yeah.
And to your point, Paul, there's no such thing as useless information. In terms of this, every bit of information is useful, no matter how trivial it is.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Well, and what's always fascinating is the collage of information, right? Because every data point is related to every other data point, and you can pivot and you can explore. So like, let's say that I have a bunch of information about shoe, and then I all of a sudden have this one really interesting like phone number or IP address. And then I can say, oh, well, that's interesting, right? Like, show me who else uses this phone number. And then you can keep exploring and exploring. So like metadata is incredibly powerful if you know how to use it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've caught on a bit from you guys and Mike just pivoting around using the word pool and different stuff in the research tab. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You can find all kinds of things.
What's often fascinating is if someone uses the same password, but it's a unique enough password, you can actually use people's passwords to find their other accounts and their other email.
Right.
And so you think about all these people that are like, I have a super unique password. And it's like, great, thank you. That will help me find your other records.
Your other accounts.
Persona for you.
I did it the other day. I put a password and a state and a last name in the word pool, and I found all the other accounts.
Well, and I think that these oligarchs and criminals and other people that are in this article are going to find out that like just having your information out there is going to be a huge liability.
Yep.
No fraud was committed.
This has been an episode of Bourbon and Data Breaches. If you liked everything you saw today, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you hated everything you saw today, please argue with the first people in the comments section.